I want to talk about how we use the ground through our legs and our feet to create speed in the golf swing. And we use it differently depending on if we're an upper, a mid, or a low core player. But one thing that is similar is pretty much every PGA Tour player, their lateral motion is going to peak first, their rotary is going to peak second, and then they posture up or jump and use verticals last. That's pretty much almost every PGA Tour player is going to do that. But what I think is really important about this is how do you pivot? Because how you pivot is going to really determine how you use the ground on your forward swing. If you look on the right, Kathleen, my low core model, you're going to notice her pivot. She moves her laterally the most as a low core player and turns her right hip the least. But watch what happens from here. She shifts, she rotates, and because she rotates and being low core, her weight's in her left heel. So low core players use verticals the least. If you look at me here on the left, you're going to see there is an upper core pivot, which I turn the right hip the most and move the least amount laterally. And now all I got to do is make my little shift. We use laterals the least, and then I rotate into a jump. And upper core players use verticals the most. Then we have Tiger here. You can see him from down the line. And what you're going to see is here's Tiger looking not as rotated as he was earlier in his career, but looking kind of mid-core there. And you can see his weight isn't quite as much in his heel as we might see a low core player like Jordan Spieth. See, Jordan Spieth is going to be more rotated. His weight's in his left heel. You can see his toe coming up off the ground. And so low core players use verticals the least. Tiger, probably mid-core in these days, is using laterals, verticals, and rotaries pretty evenly. Then we have Webb Simpson here, who's an upper core player. And you're going to see Webb here at impact. Look where his weight is in the ball of the left foot. And notice his hips are hardly rotated at all. And if you watch, you can see, look how much he postures up in the lower body using those vertical ground forces. But the most important thing is you get your pivot correct on your backswing. Then you're going to be able to use the ground the way you want. Here's Tiger from probably about 2000. You can see there's a little more lateral motion to his right foot, not as much as Kathleen. And then he shifts, rotates, and jumps. We look at Tiger down the line with a fairway medal. You can see he was a little more rotated here. And you can see his weight going a little more toward his heel here in this video here. But it's really important that you get your pivot correct for you. And another player that I wanted to show you that was really one of the greatest players in the early 90s, Nick Price, mid-core. You can see a little bit of movement to his right foot. Then he shifts, rotates, and then goes vertical. And you can see, again, he's more in the middle of his foot there, not as much toward the heel as we see Jordan Spieth here on the right. So the most important thing is to understand your pivot. If you're upper core, you turn the most, move the least amount laterally. If you're low core, you move the most lateral and you don't rotate your hips as much on the backswing. And then if you're mid core, you're in between. You're a center pivot. You're moving in between your feet.